How can we define the notion of a building? Obviously, there isn't just one true definition. There can be many different aspects, many different properties that define a building. But at least there are two common grounds that we can meet. First of all, we are trying to create living spaces for people. So we are talking about a definite function. These creations should execute a function in a proper way. If we stop there, then we are just talking about engineering. However, our job has one other side. It's about the art. It's about the aesthetical values. This is something that we can say. Our creations has to have these two as an equal partners. Both we need to consider the function and the aesthetical aspects. This goes nearly same for the design itself. It's very hard to make a certain definition for design because we know that it changes according to different conditions, and there are many different ways to do that all around the world. It's a very unique process, but we can at least say that it's a series of steps that we make decisions. We are coming up with different decisions in an order. This maybe can be a better example. We know that this is a washing machine, and this is what we are very familiar of. In our country, we always see the washing machines in this form. It has a cubical volume, and it has a round lid in front, and there are some buttons, a control panel up there, and we know that it has a different function. Right? It has been made, it has been created to wash the clothes. Now, however, what happens if I change the color? The function, that property, it's not being affected. It doesn't matter if the washing machine is orange or red or black, or we can change the shape, the form. It doesn't have to be in this form. I can just change it. I can just play with the form and replace the lid or come up with very different forms, volumes. And these can always, they can do the function in a proper way. This is what I was trying to talk about. We have two different aspects. The function, the functionality, it depends on different kinds of decisions and the other things like the color or the form or the composition. And this depends on different kinds of decisions. I'm not saying that they are completely separated. Of course, some properties are unique. When I decide about the form, it may affect both the function and the aesthetical values. But mostly we can say that there are two groups that have to work together, that have to be considered together. So for the design process, maybe we can examine that time or that process over certain steps. Again, but I have to repeat that this is a very unique process, and every architect may have their own way. But in my opinion, when we look at the successful architects' design processes, we see this. They just don't start by drawing. They first make a very detailed analysis. After that, when they stop collecting data, they interpret these and try to create a foundation for their upcoming steps. They are making pre-decisions so that their design process, their receipt for steps can be based on a very solid, very strong foundation. We can say that for humans, it is very hard for us to survive in an environment like this. We will get sick or we can be attacked by animals. It's not very, it's not the best way to use this environment as our living room. So I'm sure you have experienced this before when you were a child. We need shelter, we need protection. This table space, the space that has been created under a table is very proportionate with the height of a small child. So that is why they prefer that space. This goes same for adults as well, for us as well. We as the architects, our main duty is to create a shelter, an envelope, so that we can be protected from the outside environment, all these negative factors. And in the inside, we can have a nice, a healthy, a safe space that we can survive, that we can continue our lives. So we can talk about three notions here. First, there is this envelope. That is the boundary that separates two different spaces. This envelope contains an indoor environment, and it is being surrounded by an outdoor environment. And all these environments are interrelated. They are affecting each other. Both the indoor environment can affect the outdoor environment, and the outdoor environment is definitely affecting the indoor environment, such as in the outdoor environment, we have sun, and when the sun rays hit this envelope, this shell, it causes the indoor environment to heat. The air in the inside becomes hot. And there is this wind, the movement of air in the outer environment, and through the gaps of this shell, the air can move towards inside, things like that. So our main duty is to create a nice shell that we are actually separating a part of the outer environment in order to create living spaces for people. Let's say that in the indoor environment, there is our user, and they need a certain air temperature for their health, for their comfort. But this factor, this property of the indoor environment is being affected by the outdoor air temperatures and outdoor wind and the sun in the outdoor environment. So if, as the architect, if I manage to relate these two different environments in a better way, in a nice way, then I can guarantee, I can create a nice indoor environment for the user. Let's give another example. Let's say that this user is sick and they are coughing and they are sneezing and they are spreading the virus in the indoor environment. But as the architect, if I design this shell, this relations between these two environments, then I can have a nice air movement through the shell so that I can spread the virus out. I can get rid of the virus out. So we can say that at the end of a good design process, we can come up with two basic properties for our creation, to have a nice functionality, a true functionality, and to have certain aesthetical values. In order to do that, first we need to make a good analysis. For the analysis, we can say that it is it is departing, it is approaching a whole, a unity, and examining its parts, its different parts, one by one in detail. We have 3 C's. The concept, it means the idea, an idea, a thought system. We have context, it means the environment, the situation, the media, and the last one is content. It means something that is being enclosed by an outer envelope, such as I have this cup here, its content is coffee, and this cup stands on a table, so its context is the top of the table surface. At the beginning of the process, when we just started, we may not have anything about a concept. It is very normal because we have just started and we are not expected to have ideas about what we are going to do. So at the beginning, we have just these 2. We are going to design a building. That building will have a content, an indoor environment, and certain users inside it. And the building will be situated in a certain place. We have context. So we can start by analyzing these 2, and in time, as we get information, as we collect information about the content and the context, we can come up with interesting ideas. We can create a concept. We can say that a good building, a good design, creates living spaces for its content. This content and these living spaces are directly related to the context. So just for the functionality, at least, we can say that if this relationship is a strong one, then it means that the function is correct. It functions as it is supposed to. But if this relationship with the context and the content is not correct, such as what we see in this picture, there's traffic noise, there's a musician, and these are the boundaries of the living space, the content. But in the inside, the user needs a silent environment to work. So we can say that the relationship is not good, is not correct, because the outer environment affects the indoor environment in a negative way. So the function of this shell, it doesn't work. It doesn't function as it is supposed to be. Or we can say that if this, at the end of a good design process, our creation is compatible with the context, which we don't see here or here. It's not compatible, it's not suitable to the environment that it is being situated on. It's not just about earthquake or a flood. We can just say things about the aesthetical values, cultural values. This may be the best skyscraper in the world, but we can definitely say that it is not suitable to its context. This is another example. It's, in my opinion, it's very interesting. What we see here is a huge mall in America, in the United States. And it is so huge that we can understand its dimensions by comparing it with these cars. These are just small cars, and we see a very large parking lot. And this is a huge building, and there is, as long as what we see in the picture, there is a suburban settlement with houses and gardens and trees. Imagine that you own this house and you are just neighbors with this mall, and there is a supermarket here in the mall, and you ran out of milk and you want to go to this supermarket and grab a couple of milks. but it is impossible, nearly impossible for you to approach this building on foot because we see a very busy highway that separates these two settlements. It is nearly impossible for you to cross this road and walk all the way to the main entrance and walk all the way to the superstore and then go back. That is because this building, this design, all these decisions were not made according to its context. All these decisions were made for the access with a car. And we see here a closed parking space, parking area. So even if you are neighbors with this building, you have to take your car and drive here, maybe go to the supermarket and go back. This is why, that's the reason for this result. It has been designed in that way. Another example, this is an example from Turkey. This is a municipality building, and we see that there is this mixture of different styles, different art styles. Every part of the building resembles something else, and when you look at it, there is no solid reason. You cannot be able to understand why the architect decided in this way. What was his purpose or her purpose? It doesn't make sense. All these connections, all these different things, it just creates a nonsense mixture. So we can say that our main idea is to create a nice relationship with indoor and outdoor environments, both for the functionality and the aesthetical values. And we need to start by collecting data, making a good analysis about the context and the content, so that in time, with the interpretation of that data, we can come up with good ideas, necessary ideas to create a functional and aesthetical building, which actually means something. In the outside, in the outdoor environment, we have natural environment, we may have a built environment and social environments, and in the inside, we have our user. So let's start with outdoor environment analysis. The first thing that we are supposed to do is to understand the sense of that place. We need to make a deep analysis. We need to collect lots of data about that place so we can be able to understand the sense of that place. This is a very nice comic that I like so much. This is an Instagram account, which feed typical tourist viewing angles around the world. In Norway, you need to look up, it is 90 degrees. In New York, because of the skyscrapers and narrow streets, you need to have at least a 70-degree angle to see. In Nepal, it's 45 degrees. In Morocco, because of the heat, you need to shadow your eyes, squint your eyes. And in France, you need to be careful about where you step. The first item on our list is the natural environment. We can talk about different properties. Climate is the first one. We know that every place in the earth has a certain climate. It changes through the year, through different seasons, and we need to know how the climate is in that particular space. Throughout the year. And maybe we can look for the properties of the sun for that particular area, because the angle of sun rays, the sun exposure time changes, and these factors change according to the geographical position. The sun rays angles, this is what we call sun path. It changes through the day and through the year. In the morning, the sun starts to rise. So when it hits on the surface of the Earth, this angle is very narrow. But in the noon, it gets very high. So this angle is close to 90 degrees. And in the evening, when the sun is setting, again, the angle narrows down. And this changes throughout the year too. Here we see this is the sun's position changing through the day. And this is the sun's position changing between winter and summertime. We can use certain websites for this. Just an example, this one, suncalc.org. Here what we see is the position of the sun in different seasons. In the summertime, we know that the sun rises not from the east, but northeast, and it goes very high with nearly more than 70 degrees, and it stays longer in the sky. And in the night, evening time, it doesn't sink at the directly west direction, but it goes up to northwest. At around March 21 and September 21, it rises directly from the east side. It goes high up, but not as high as the summertime. The angle is at around 50 degrees, and it sinks, it sets directly at the west direction. But in the winter time, it stays in the sky much shorter in a short time, and we see that it rises from the southeast direction. The angle is nearly 25 degrees, and it sets in the southwest direction. So all these values, all these angles and times changes according to the geographical location. So we have to collect, we have to make research about the sun path throughout the year and throughout the day for that particular location that we are going to make our design. Also, we can collect data about weather, air temperatures, air humidity, air pollution. Again, we need to look for the whole year and try to understand the properties of air temperature, if it's too hot or if it is too cold, or if it's a mild climate. This goes same with the relative humidity. We need to look for throughout the year if the humidity level is high or low, and we need to, after collecting these data, obviously we need to interpret them and try to understand what kind of solution, what kind of problems there may appear, and what kind of solutions we can offer. Because if it is a very hot and a humid climate, then it means that we need to create nice air movements in the inside environment by using the factors that are existing in the outer environment, so that our user will have a nice and comfortable living space. And again, this goes same with the air pollution. If the pollution of that space is high, then it means that our user may affect in a negative way. They may get sick. We need to look at the precipitation, its type, its duration, and its level. When we say precipitation, of course, we are talking about rain, snow, and other types. But it is not as romantic as this is always. It looks very nice in this video, but this was taken in Istanbul in 2018, I guess, and it was a disaster. People get hurt, people fall down, the cars buildings were damaged. It was horrible. And here we see flood. It happens so quickly. No, in just in seconds, in less than a minute, we see that all these areas, we are going to see that all these areas will be flooded, and look, lots of other objects, cars, and things are being drafted by the flood. And we need to check if our location that we are going to place our design is prone to this kind of situation, and what can we do against it to prevent it or to protect our design and our people. And snow, obviously, they have all these types, different types, have different effects. Also, we need to check the wind, the prevailing wind direction, and other aspects. Throughout the year, again, because it may change from month to month. We need wind if it is too hot, and we need to avoid it if it is cold and destroying. We can look for a wind rose like this, and this shows that for that location, the prevailing wind direction is northwest, but in the other months, it gets different winds from various directions. But if we don't, we can cause a situation like this. Maybe it can get very dangerous. But if you know, we can have precautions for this. We can come up with decisions to avoid this situation. Here, it shows how dangerous it can get. You see a forklift. This is probably a factory area or something, and we have a facade here with doors, glass doors, and a solid wall. And obviously, it's a storm. It hits the building. We are seeing through the security camera. And at the end, we see that there is no wall. The whole facade was smashed down. This forklift was turned on its side. Here we can look at the properties of green spaces, what kind of plants are there throughout the year, again, because this is a street in Germany. These are sakura trees, Japanese cherry blossoms, and you get this view only for 2 or 3 weeks in the springtime. And we can, make our research and take our notes, what kind of trees and other types of plants are there. Also, we can look for water, if it's a nice water for viewing or for water sports, for swimming or other things. A very interesting example, in my opinion, there is this, I think it's in Nepal or Taiwan, I'm not sure. But there is this very nice market situated on the water channel. But it can be a bad water too, a polluted water which produces nasty smells or diseases. So we have to look the situation. And one of other items is the topography. We need to look for the topography of the outer environment. We can create these contour lines by using our maps. As you see, there are some numbers here. These numbers, they were written by engineers, and they calculate the height of that particular point from the surface of the sea. It says here that this point is 133 meters higher from the level of the sea, and it changes, here 133 and here 128. So it means that there is a slope. And by using these numbers, we can create the contour lines and understand the topography by looking these lines. Also, we need to check the soil type. And you know that different soil types, they have different carrying capacities. Look, there is this mountain. It's horrible. It's kind of a landslide. A huge rock is falling down. Yeah. You see, it's horrible. This car was about to smash. So we have to look for the properties of the soil at that place. This is an actual landslide, and the whole area is sliding down towards the sea. A very important factor for our country, earthquake zones. We need to check the location and if it is prone to earthquakes or not. And maybe for the last item, we can talk about other living entities. What kind of animals, insects, and microorganisms are there? These are spiders, and these are crickets. They invade the city. Or a very interesting example, this image is from India. There are these kind of monkeys, and people have to protect their windows at the 8th floor or 9th floor because these monkeys were trained to steal things from houses. And this was the just general items that we can talk about natural environment. But of course, you can come up with different things. I created this list just to guide you, but you are not limited with these items only, obviously. When you start your design process, you can examine the place that you are going to make your design according to this list, and you can find different items, different factors particular to that space.